For a transcript of this episode, training plans, and more, visit marathonsfortherestofus.com. Okay, so today's topic is stress is stress. And if you're somebody that comes to my track workouts or somebody that I coach, you know that this is one of my favorite sayings. And the reason why I repeat this saying to people I coach so often is because to me this really gets at the heart of what makes training for a marathon so difficult as an adult. And also because this is something that a lot of us never really learn, or something that we sort of just forget along the way. And so I find that it's something that I need to remind people of frequently so that they can adjust their training and make sure that they're on the right track. So what does stress is stress mean? At the root of it, what I'm trying to get across with this idea is that all stress in your life is going to count the same as far as your body's concerned. So when I say all stress, I mean things like family, work, relationships, marathon training, all that sort of stuff that we sort of get stressed about, right? But it also includes a lot of things that we may not think of that put stress on our body specifically. And by that, I mean things like lack of sleep, sickness, not eating right, travel, all of those sorts of things take a toll as well. And the idea that stress is really talking about there's only so much of that you can take, and it all counts the same. You know, if you're traveling and you're sick and you're trying to get marathon training in, your body doesn't compartmentalize that. You can't stay stress-free in some areas and get stressed in others. As far as your body's concerned, it's all going to count the same, and it's all going to have an impact. So since your body can only take so much stress and your mind can only take so much stress, no matter what the source is, it's very important that you're aware of the stress that's going on. So in practice, what this means is, first of all, trying to keep a sense of how stressed you are, trying to keep in touch with your body and your mind, and having an idea of how much stress you're under at any given point in time. So the second thing is to try to be aware of our limits and try to recognize when we're dealing with too much stress. When we start to deal with too much stress, that's when we're really headed for a breakdown. And by a breakdown, I don't necessarily mean a mental breakdown, although that can certainly happen as well. But I'm talking more about the breakdowns that manifest themselves in sickness and injury and things like that. And we tend to think of those as fluke occurrences, but they're really a result of the body and the mind being under too much stress, more than it can handle, and sort of reaching an overload point. And so it's telling you to stop in the only way that it knows how, and that's injury and sickness. And then the third thing is to actively reduce the amount of stress that you have. And this is tricky because some things you can control how much stress you're under, and some things you can't. So you have to be able to figure out which things are variable and which things do I have control over. Now, very often, marathon training is going to be one of the more variable sources of stress in your life. And I know it doesn't always feel like that when you've got your training plan set out and you're trying to follow it to a T. But compared to things like family stress, work stress, relationship stress, often marathon training is the one that needs to give a little bit. And that can take the form of cutting out long runs, or maybe running them a little bit shorter. It can take the form of, just dropping the number of days per week that you're running. It can take the form of taking speed days and turning them into easy days. There's a lot of ways where you can still be getting the work that you need in, but cut down on the stress level so that it's better in sync with the stress that you've got from these sources that you can't control. Ultimately, if you try to keep going when you feel those stress levels get too high, it will come back to bite you. And just the nature of it, it tends to happen during the point in the training that it's like the worst time to get injured or sick, right? Because as your training levels ramp up, the stress from the training goes up. If you're not able to balance that out with the stress in the other part of your life, that's when you run into trouble. So make sure that you're keeping an eye on this and sort of staying on top of it in the beginning parts of the training, and have a plan in place for how you're going to modify things in that more difficult section, because that's really when it can come back to bite you if you don't. So I hope that idea of stress is helpful for you. Like I said, it's one of my favorite sayings. I repeat it all the time, and hopefully it can help you train better and train smarter for your marathon as well. If you have ideas for future videos, please leave them in the comment section below and let me know what you thought of this one. Thanks so much for watching. Talk to you soon.